So I won the first edition TradeFlow competition, winning a Rolex and $5,000 cash. Here's how I did it. What the competition was: 1 month long, 100 plus traders, and live performance tracked in real time on the leaderboard. So you could always see where your opponents, in that sense, were and what their performance was. This allowed you to have enough time for your edge to present itself, to really showcase itself, and hopefully be patient enough to allow yourself to hit these hitters that you need in the competition. At least that was kind of the way that I went about the competition myself, allowing myself to really remain calm at the start, kind of get the gist of everything else, see how other people were performing, and then kind of be a little bit more aggressive when deemed necessary. So the goal here wasn't for me to necessarily gamble. The goal was to top out, but to also structure myself along the top 10 ever so slightly to make sure that that leaderboard was very much present and a goal at first. And then once we chipped away and were able to pretty much see the light at the end of the tunnel, I was very well inclined to go for the lead and to also then secure the lead. So in this video, I'll be breaking down pretty much my entire game plan and how I did it. If you haven't seen already, I've broken down pretty much every trade that I have taken in this competition in the previous videos in my anomaly sequence series, and I'll also be explaining to you how you can join the next competition. I didn't necessarily trade differently because it was a competition. Actually, what I made sure is that I traded exactly the same that I did outside of the competition. The only thing that changed was necessarily my risk management. So everything that I've preached in anomaly sequence as well is exactly the things that I did in the competition as well, such as making sure that my EOD reports are very much present and relaying my end of day reports into my start of day, and understanding what type of trade I want to take that day and where I can take it. So many people, they come into the competition with the idea that it is going to be so much different than their day-to-day trading. But also, obviously, many people will want to enter a competition when they aren't profitable just yet. And although that is okay, right, it's some sort of way to test whether or not you can trade with live capital, because this was my own live capital. I wouldn't necessarily expect the top leaderboard places for first-timers trading their live capital. I've seen it with my own eyes as well, and that's already a small tip that if you are, let's say, flipping your account because you don't know what risk management to do, best case scenario is to just take the money home already, and just sit safely if you've flipped your account once or twice even. And we've seen that at the beginning of the competition in the first week. Many people that just skyrocketed at the start, maybe got a little bit lucky, maybe didn't hit those 5 trades that they needed, or those 3 trading days, and then fumbled on the last trade or the last trading day as well. That's why the rules are there in place, but at the end of the day as well, look inwards to yourself to really notice how you react as a trader to these competitions. So again, what I want to emphasize here is I didn't necessarily trade any different. I traded exactly how I trade daily for my students and also for everyone and for myself, showcasing the skills of consistency and discipline. Biggest key takeaway here that I did as well was at the end of the competition, when I knew that I had a really staggering chance at becoming first, I even eliminated myself from all distractions and went to Stockholm to really dial in, bring my extra monitor, and focus on the last 5 days of the trading competition. So there are moments that you also know that when you should dial in extra, or when you need to really amp it up just a little bit, and this was exactly one of those moments. Right, so let me break down how all these competitions work, how you can view them, and how you can join them as well, before we break down the first edition competition and look at the leaderboard and how I won there. So within the app, within TradeFlow itself, you can see a tab that says leaderboards. Right here, you can see pretty much all past and upcoming competitions. Right here, you can see that we have an upcoming competition, the Titan edition, right around the corner. So if you want to join the Titan edition and want to partake for free, gaining a chance at that $50,000 prize pool, make sure to check the link below and follow all the sign up steps right there. It's very, very simple. I click right here and it says pretty much all the steps that you need to do right here. Then you can connect your account with the platform and you will be showcased on the leaderboard. I myself will also be partaking in the Titan edition, so I wish you all best of luck with that. But without further ado, let's go into the leaderboard of the first edition. Right here, you can see a couple of cool facts, right? You can see that the prize pool was $50,000, and you can see pretty much all the top 25 traders. And this is a very, very cool way to go about it. It makes it very fun, it makes it very exciting as this updates. One thing that I really find interesting is obviously the average gain with these competitions, and in this video I will also break it down exactly what my best tips of advice is for the next competition and how you can get a best chance to go for the leaderboard as well. So overall the average gain was negative 22.05%. Many people will come into this competition with the idea that they will gamble, that they will go into this losing streak, that they will risk a little bit too much than they're supposed to, and that will cost them the opportunity at any of the prizes or of pretty much just trying to get to the leaderboard, right? You can see that the criteria for the leaderboard, wasn't the most difficult thing to do at the end of the day. Many people have obviously already withdrawn their accounts, which is totally normal. So you can see that the bracket for entering the leaderboard isn't the most difficult thing to do, but it is definitely the aspect of waiting 30 days if your edge doesn't present itself and having that implicit pressure that is there, forcing you to trade. And that's where many people will go wrong. They aren't able to sit on their hands outside of a competition, so let alone will they be able to sit on their hands if they are in a trading competition. And that's kind of the thing that I want to emphasize a little bit after we do this. But let's look a little bit at my stats. So everyone started with $1,000 of their own money that they deposited into that account. From there you have 30 days to trade, and then it goes out with the rules. You need to have five trades, 3 active trading days, and then there are numerous different strategies that are not allowed within TradeFlow. At the end of the day, you can see that I did from $1,000, I made it to $3,600, which is an impressive 260% return on investment with quite a high drawdown. Obviously, I was risking quite a bit at the start of this competition to gain that leverage that I needed, to gain that extra margin that I needed to allow me to shoot the lot sizes that I wanted to shoot. Overall, you can see that the top 5 are really guys that really broke away, in my opinion. Top 5, top 10 is pretty much where it gets a little bit difficult, like half flips, full flips. It was very close between me and Pips for Breakfast being second place. And then we had a very solid effort as well from third, doing a flip on the account as well. Overall, very, very, very interesting stuff. I managed to really secure the lead by quite a bit at the end. If you haven't checked out the recaps, please do so. So let's break down pretty much what my best tips and tricks are for these competitions and going about it with your best interest. Right, so let's break it down bit by bit exactly how I won the first edition TradeFlow competition. I'll be explaining the rules, I'll be explaining the breakdown of what is allowed and what isn't allowed, and I'll give you a small introduction into exactly what I did to make sure that I won the competition and pretty much my technical strategy that I used to implement in this competition in order to gain more margin, gain more position sizing to eventually pyramid my way into the lead. So overall, let's look at what actually happened. So what happened here is that we won the competition. You can see in front of you the gain that there is 260% gain on live capital. So this means that I deposited my own $1,000 and flipped it pretty much 2.5 times, a little bit more than 2.5 times. This has given me that Rolex and 5K cash prize. You can see here in front of you the leaderboard. First place on the leaderboard, followed by second place, which was 50% behind me. It was a very, very close battle between P1 and P2, but overall, very, very exciting to see just how well everyone traded and how the entire top 25 managed to keep their private capital afloat, because that is one thing that I mentioned in the introduction, that it's 30 days long, right? So even ending that with all the pressure of the competition will often enough be difficult. We talked about the average gain being negative 20%, which just showcases that the average person that enters this competition doesn't even end above break even at the end of the competition. So that's something to take into account, and that's something that I also want to showcase you guys later on in this video, how you can use that to your advantage. And then this were the preliminary results. You can see the official standings, $3,602.69, where you can see the top 25 did a 36% gain in the overall thing. So again, crazy stuff, crazy cash prizes. I'm going to be receiving this watch and a check for 5K in Rome as we speak at the end of the month, for that exclusive event that everyone from the leaderboard is able to attend to. Other than that, if you guys want to see every trade that I did break down, I do have them on my YouTube. You can see exactly every single day that I did break down, going over what I had for that day, the position that I took for that day, the bias I had for that day, the management that I had for that day. So make sure to see these in-depth breakdowns. And if you haven't already, also on Instagram, I break them down within 60 seconds, showcasing you guys each date, each trade, to get a visual understanding of what these trades are, where I take them, and what type of entry pattern or execution pattern I do. So let's go over for now about the breakdown of the rules, kind of what stood out to me, what I found really interesting, and what you should look out for as well. Overall, we know that the trading competition is going to be 30 days. 30 days to trade, which gives you 20 good trading days. So 30 calendar days, 20 good trading days. You need to qualify for the leaderboard in order to gain prizes, because at the end of the competition there will be a check roughly between 2 to 3 days where they go over each of the results, making sure that everyone qualifies fairly. The rules for the qualification is 5 trades during the entire period, or trades on 3 separate calendar days. So 3 days. This obviously is a little bit on the lower end of things. In my opinion, I do believe that they could be a little bit more stricter with some rules, but hey, use these to your advantage while they're still this easy, in my opinion. This entails 5 trades overall, so a minimum of 5 trades, or this showcases that you need to trade 3 different separate days, calendar days, right? So anywhere from Monday to Friday if you're trading FX, stocks, indices, or even if you're trading crypto, you could be trading crypto over the weekend. It needs to be a calendar day, not a trading day, which is nice. There are a couple of technical limits for the guys that are trading with EAs, right? Nothing that you should be too worried about, right? Obviously, if you have and you are trading with EAs, which I know a couple of you guys might be doing so in the next competition, make sure that you know, your server load will be sufficient, that you're not pumping everything through. I don't think that would be the best case thing to do either. This is where it gets interesting for me, right? I've been in a couple of trading competitions before. I've also traded privately before with a very aggressive risk management. And what I obviously am quite familiar with is the concept of pyramiding.
Pyramiding is just adding risk to your trades and kind of like doubling down, but not in a martingale fashion, right? Not increasing your risk or doubling down when price goes against you, whether that would be reverse pyramiding and whatnot. But pyramiding is just pretty much taking a swing of a position and allowing yourself to, risk in with that trade. And if you kind of understand the concept of pyramids, right, you will see that you can keep adding in, let's say, these flat moments. That's the whole point with pyramiding. You want to make sure that when price kind of retraces or stagnates, that you have this shoulder, which is what I like to call them, right? The previous, if you're short the whole time, the previous highs and local highs will always act as these shoulder points, these pivot points, which will act as your new stop loss when you are pyramiding along the way. So there were restrictions here in place. I played it safe, and with every swing, I maximized myself at playing just 2 to 3 positions per idea. So if I was short for the day, I made sure that I didn't, let's say, over pyramid or excessive pyramid myself into that swing to the downside or that swing to the upside, right? A couple things, we'll go into the pyramiding aspect later, and I'll gladly break down this entire case study, going over every position in one video instead of separate videos, if this video gets enough traction. So let's aim for something like 50 likes, then I'll break down the other long form case study on the technical side of things. So here I want to give you guys a little bit of just overall information, but if this video gets 50 likes, I'll break it down and I'll go over the case study of every position in one video as a whole. So let's go over kind of the technical rules, right, and strategies. Obviously, we can't do arbitrage. That's not really allowed. EAs are allowed, day trading, sync trading, and position trading. News and event trading is allowed. Hedging with the same account is allowed. Positions may be held overnight and over the weekend without any additional rules or restrictions. So overall, you have all the freedom that you do have with private capital, so you can implement all of that if you want to as well. So easy stuff, nothing to be too worried about, and all the instruments that are available with the broker obviously are prominent and available and easy to use. So let's kind of go down over my game plan as well, right? My game plan is quite simple. What that kind of consists of is pretty much just going over one of two things, right? I want to make sure that you guys understand this very, very well. So to begin off with, is you have 30 days, right, in one competition. So that's a month. You have 1 month, and just like with anything, you got to understand that I'm as structural as I can get in this competition, just as structural as I am trading outside of a competition. Many people that enter this competition had like this filter, and they blew their account up in the first 2 weeks because they think it's a whole different ballgame. For many of you, it might be because it could be the first time that you're trading private capital, right? You go from proprietary to private. That might be the big step for you. But at the end of the day, there's no difference between the mechanical and the technical implication that you are doing on proprietary in relation to what you are doing here on the competition. So just like everything that I showcase you guys in anomaly sequence. So if you haven't checked this out yet, I explain. I have an open mentorship. I have an open course. I have 44 videos. We're closing the first half of Anomaly Sequence this year with 50 videos where I introduce you guys to Exodus, to my strategy, to the way that I trade. And what I'm about to explain, you can find in-depth videos about how I do all of that right here. How I explain my entire thought process, how I go over, I talk about market dynamics, I talk about candlesticks. This is for me one of the most favorite things because I debunk, all the ICT stuff and SMC. I showcase you guys exactly why that doesn't work, and I talk a lot about stuff that I call liquidity concepts and order flow. That for me is the most important thing. And then also I give you guys all this psychological aspect, these tips with discipline, these tips with decluttering, which will further be tested in your competition when you are trading against others, and when you are trading for cash prizes, which is very, very interesting. So make sure to also check out those videos as well, especially the mental edge videos. So without further ado, let's talk about my game plan for the competition. Again, you have 30 days, right? Remember that 30 days that you have to really make this happen, to make this work. This gives you one monthly candle. Let's say whether you start at the beginning of the month. So this one was at the start of October, right? So that gives it really simple. You're going to have a fresh monthly candle to trade with. Not every competition will be at the start of a month, right? So you're going to have to also kind of be a little bit lenient. Main bias, and when we look at what we're doing, is one of two things. You want to understand what is the highest probable area and direction that that monthly candle will close, right? We're looking at the next monthly candle close, and we are doing that in relation to the previous one. Okay, so we're not speculating out of thin air. You are looking at, will this monthly candle that I am currently trading the trading competition in, will that close higher or lower than the previous monthly candle? So we look at October and we look here. We just swept buy sell liquidity. So my bet is, hey, I'm not, understand, I don't have targets, right? I don't have sell side liquidity as a target, but I have a simple direction where I know the next monthly candle, what I want it to do, the most probable scenario is for it to close bearish. Simple, right? It's the main pro stage directional bias, which allows me to choose which trades I want to pyramid into. And by doing that, I can aggressively gain more margin on my account, which I can then use to shoot bigger positions when I am in the lead. So it's exponential, right? You're chipping away the whole time. And that's the whole point of pyramiding. You're doing this, you're winning, you're maybe losing, winning, losing, winning, losing. And all of a sudden, you've got more margin, your positions get bigger, and you are exponentially just taking the lead and chipping away without adding excessive risk. I hope that that makes sense for you guys. From there, we obviously go into the weekly direction. Again, simple. You got to do this step 4 times, right? 4 times you got to do this step. So the bias for the month you do once, you do at the start of the competition. The weekly direction, you obviously do in the weekend. You decide what is going to be that weekly direction for the next week that you are trading. And you're breaking it down. This is, simply put, this is top-down analysis. Higher time frame analysis, top-down analysis. Nothing more, nothing less. So the weekly gives you this, right? What you see is this in front of you. From this aspect, what you notice is one of 2 things. Remember this highlighted area that we had here. From that highlighted area, we noticed that these lows were pretty much the ones that we wanted to trade into, right? From these lows right there, we can also anticipate 1 week that will give us a bullish reaction, right? Trading into passive liquidity, the one that will give some sort of reaction. It's not too difficult just yet. Doing so gives us when major passive liquidity levels are taking and switching into counter directional bias when these levels are taken. And that was here, right? These lows right here, all of these that essentially were the lows that caused that high to be taken out, right? Then once those are taken out, we can also anticipate some sort of reaction from that, which it gave, which is very, very nice. And then from there, obviously, what do? We trade into those lows because these lows are not going to break buy side liquidity. Everything that I teach you, again, everything that I teach you in anomaly sequence all comes back. It's all there. I don't, it's not hidden. I don't gatekeep anything. What I do isn't a golden grail. You know, you guys know what I do in AO. That's tailor-made, right? That's tailor-made to you. But even aside from that, I have readily available material for you to study. And you can study all of that material. You can go over all of that material and understand exactly the same things that I am mentioning here. So again, to summarize, weekly direction, you do that 4 times. You understand when you switch into a counter directional bias, when these levels of passive liquidity have been taken. And this was exactly that. And you will notice that in that week of the competition, I had buy sides. So I had a couple of buys going against my main sell side draw on liquidity, but those were logical. Just like you will have logical areas where you want price to retrace against your higher time frame narrative, pro stage, counter stage. So once you've done that, you go into the last step. And that is really not the most difficult thing to do, which is the daily play, right? So this is the one that you do the X amount of trading days that you have in the competition. So often enough, it will be anywhere between 20 trading days to 22 trading days. So whatever trading days you have available, that is what you do on the daily basis. And let's just look at this. Beautiful stuff. You understand that this is where on the daily we body closed above the major buy side liquidity level. From there, right, when the competition started, which was right here, we tapped into a daily bearish array. And that daily bearish array gives us one of two things. It gives us an anti-vision of, hey, where is my invalidation point if I want to go short now? Right here, right above this high. From there, we understood that in the first couple of days of the competition, I managed to already get onto the top 10 with such a clean A+ trade, which was from a daily higher time frame array into week lows, into your main sell side liquidity. And then one more time, you see this low resistance liquidity acting as these major levels that once they are all taken out, you will see some sort of pullback. That pullback was exactly the area where I wanted to buy. So in this bullish leg, I started buying as well against the main draw on liquidity, against the main sell side liquidity, but overall a very logical area for me to look for potential buys. And from there, again, we did exactly the same. We create these weak lows, these relative equal lows even on futures and CFDs, and we traded right into them twice. Easy does it. As closer as we got to the extreme right here, the more, let's say, extreme and aggressive you could be with your positioning. Not the most difficult thing to do just yet. So once you have your daily play, you know what you want to do for the day, you can become a little bit more dynamic with your risk. And this is something that I want to explain in this video, because this is also something that you need to be doing if you want to join the next competition. Dynamic risk entails that you are looking at pretty much what you have to lose as your buffer and pretty much how much you are willing to lose in your next couple of trades as the week progresses. So if you don't take anything Monday, Tuesday, then you can be a little bit more aggressive Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? Those type of things. And that's dynamic risk. If I'm risking 10% per trade, which I was, and I flipped the account once, I'm at 2K, I can risk a lot more and I can chip away at my lead a lot quicker. But I also know that if I haven't traded any of the days, the next day I am willing myself to, let's say, lose more because I've got a fixed weekly bias that I want to hit. And if we're still not there, I can make sure that we can hit that level with a little bit more risk, dynamic risk. Also, it goes against you. So if you lost Monday, Tuesday, you need to become a little bit more lenient. You need to hit the brakes a little bit, slow down just ever so slightly. So those things are all super important because they add your dynamic risk sizing per day to adjust into heavier or smaller positions. So that's pretty much how I go about with competitions, and also exactly how I went about with this competition and how I will go about with the next one. So these videos and all these tips, I hope that you understand a little bit as to how I do it. And I would definitely recommend you to do the same, because the game plan is simple. The first 2 weeks, and I said that to all my students as well, you just need to sit it out. Sit it out. Get used to it, get used to the platform, get used to the data, the spread, whatever. Hit a couple of bullets. Get your trigger finger ready. Understand your parameters. Understand the max of your parameter and whatever the lower end of the thing. That's very important. If you're trading in the competition, you want to trade aggressive, know exactly what the maximum is you're allowed to shoot, because I had that at the beginning. It's good that I had that at the beginning and not at the end, right? It's good that I understood what I was able to do. So I couldn't shoot 2 lots market execution. I couldn't shoot 3 lots. I could only shoot 1. And I had to do like these really awkward limits to get 1.5 and 2 lots under that 2K bracket. And once I was obviously above that 2K bracket, I could shoot 2 lots and so forth, really chipping away, because that means that I need less distance in pips to get the same gain that I was doing with 1 lot. Simple as. So take that first week, take the first half of this competition as a way to warm up. Use it like with marathon running as a positive split. You want to run quicker in the second half of the competition in conjunction with the first half. Take it easy, build it up, build a buffer. And then at the last half of the competition, be more aggressive, a lot more aggressive. You have breathing room. People have fallen out. People have blown their account. They've got margin called. They've gambled it on news releases. Simple. That's another thing. Know your strategy. If you don't know what strategy you have and you don't know how long you're going to be exposed in the market, you won't be able to understand what you are risking. I'm not holding positions overnight. I'm not holding positions over the weekend. I don't want to partake in news. There were so many guys that were, in my opinion, not smart enough to understand that it was a government shutdown and we were releasing CPI data and FOMC data for the first time in a heavy amount of weeks. You don't want to be exposed in the market during those releases. Not the smartest thing to do. So after that, we go into the next competition. And this is for you. I'm already signed up. I'm waiting for that competition to start. But any competition of the day of this recording, you can see the link in the description and join. It's very, very simple. You will be competing against a vast amount of traders. So you do create a broker account. It is with a partnered broker, but it is your money. It's free. You are testing yourself whether or not you can trade with live capital. For many people, it's a good way to see whether or not they're capable of doing that. And obviously, what you do in return for that is one of two things. So you deposit, but you also get the chance to build that record and then trade with that afterwards if you want to. But you come into the running for insane prizes. And that is what there is to win. You have pretty much the same cash prizes as last time. Rolex and 5K, 7,500 cash for the second place, 5,000 cash for the second, and tools that could help you as a trader. You've got nothing to lose, because if you think about it, the minimum cost of a 100K account is already $500. So what you're doing is you're depositing $500 to trade for a month and potentially double up and win insane prizes. So I hope that this video has helped. I hope that you got to learn a little bit of how I go about with the competition, how the competition works on its own, and also the tips and tricks that I've used. And I really, really hope to see you amongst the leaderboard in the next competition, battling it out with me, with my students, and with all the other communities that are partaking in the TradeFlow competition. And again, like I said, if this video gets enough traction, I will break down every single trade in one video as one big case study, showcasing you all the entries and exits that I took on Euro USD during the first edition TradeFlow competition, which I won, bringing home that Rolex and that 5K.